Wednesday's by-elections in 14 wards and 7 provinces stands at just over 40.6%. That's according to the Independent Electoral Commission. This is 5 months after the last round of local votes were tallied. Some parties had greater success than others. This week, the IEC announced local government elections will take place in October. So let's get some perspective on this with Professor of African Politics, Kealeboga Maphunye. Very good morning to you. So by midday, only 50% of voters had turned out. I mean, you can't blame them on having this sort of lethargy in any type of elections in the country, can you?
Absolutely, Jane. Actually, I would not even use lethargy for by-elections such as what we have just had in the so-called Super Wednesday. But actually, we need to look at the fact that in a local government election, especially by-elections, it's normally very difficult to get people to go to the vote, especially in a situation where people have been having this pandemic scare, and now having to go to those voting stations would create extra security risk for some people. So, in my view, yes, there has been some lethargy, among some of the voters, but this is just the beginning of a very long process that we'll see now that the day of the 2021 local government elections has been announced.
But interesting results so far. I mean, the DA losing to ANC. I mean, that seems anathema, doesn't it? In Knysna, the EFF surge in KZN, and the ANC sitting pretty comfortable.
The ANC, I think, so far must be, happy. In effect, in the sense that, of the 14 by-elections, my take is that so far they are doing well, retaining many of the wards that they were contesting, losing obviously a major one in Knysna, to the DA, but of course also retaining, some. In KZN, for instance, we have noticed that they have snatched one from the IFP in Goma. But Jane, my reading is that it's still early days. For by-elections, the story is neither here nor there in terms of which party wins, because we still have to look at trends later. And these by-elections are just like a snap survey or step preview of the big things to come. The big things to come obviously is now when parties are in full campaign mode, which they are starting. They must be very excited, many of them yesterday, those who, of course, who support the idea that the election should not be postponed. I know that, there's the likes of the EFF and the others who said they must be postponed.
Okay, let's talk about the EFF. They say it's not fair. The ANC has the visuals, therefore they have a greater impact, potential impact on voting. I mean, is that a fair complaint by the EFF, or are they just stalling for other reasons? And what are they?
Jane, we need to entertain the views of political parties across the spectrum, not just the EFF and others, about the pros and cons of having an election. Because South Africa is a multi-party democracy in terms of the constitution of the country. And we have to continue to referring, to the rights that political parties, have in terms of the Bill of Rights, political expression, the right to association, which is where the parties come in. So therefore, the EFF is raising important points. However, having said that, we also must be aware that in terms of election management good practices, the IEC, the Electoral Commission of South Africa, remains, the referee in this regard, because they determine the veracity of all situations and the safety as well as the risks in terms of the Electoral Act about the holding of an election. So in my view is that, yes, the parties might express concern, but in terms of the law, the 5-year mandate for which councils and for each political parties are elected, to postpone an election would obviously have had serious political and constitutional, ramifications. So to that extent, I agree that the move to proceed with the election was actually a good one, because we have not only been observing elections here in South Africa, but also in the continent, Jane. that elections are not being postponed. If you postpone the election, it's like postponing your meal. You cannot live without having a meal. And in terms of democracy, we need those regular elections because postponing them is like ushering in a period of undemocratic rule, which obviously in terms of South Africa will not fly.
Exactly. Prof. Maphunye, thank you very much.